So in the last 3 years, there are some startups that do the same things like you, like Q&A, ask doctors online like that. And some of them are already closed, I heard. And what makes you can survive this long?
I think the answer is only one, two, I guess, passion and determination. Because I was a doctor, I said I graduated from Universitas Erlangga in 2006. And then I did my private practice in Surabaya, my hometown. I did try to get my specialist titles 3 times, and I failed, screwed up.
Failed 3 times.
Failed 3 times, yeah. But I'm sorry. This is this combination between excitement and hunger. So those words are coming. But I make you laugh. So yeah, I did 3 times, right? I failed, and thanks God I failed. Really, thanks God I failed. If I was successful that time, I'm not gonna be meeting my most beautiful upcoming wife. I'll be sitting in my office, right? You can give me applause on that. Thank you. So I can see blushing up there. Yeah, that's the answer. So passion and determination, and I still believe that this healthcare thing's gonna work.
Okay. Now let's move to your question.
Oh yeah, I already make it structured a bit. Yeah. So my prestigious panelists, you can read your questions yourself, and the mic is yours. Please answer me. What is small? Yeah, Grace. I know that your name is very famous, but it's really an honor to see you in person tonight. So you're in the background of the hospital business. Why are you moving to Philip Doctor? And I hope Philip Doctor is not being a competitor to Philip Doctor. But anyway, it's good. It's good to have the same players in the ecosystem, right? It's really good.
Actually, I'm like you, right? I'm very passionate about technology. I actually met a friend who invested in your company earlier, Kevin Osman, just for today.
Okay.
So he told me how passionate you are about the healthcare and technology as well. So actually, back in 2000, I was in my grad school in America doing accounting, and I wanted to stay in America to to be in the top Silicon Valley thing. But my dad told me to come home, because he wants me to help him in this business. So this kind of desires of me is always there, about the technology stuff. And my vision to be a doctor and an MD is actually one thing, is to continue my dad's vision. But I hear, he always believed a country needs 2 things for the country to be successful. One is education and one is healthcare. And that's what he poured a lot of money and helped a lot of people in terms of these 2 industries. And I believe that, building a hospital so fast everywhere in the whole Indonesia is going to be impossible because it takes a lot of money, right? So one of the more relatively easy way to do it is through the technology. That's why I wanted to do this. I want to see this vision happening as well all over Indonesia. So that would be the answer to number 1.
And answers number 2.
I absolutely agree with you. It's a very promising industry, and I think there's no way to go but up. Because we see the whole population in Indonesia is keep on increasing, right? So that's going to be putting a strain on the healthcare system in Indonesia. On top of that, we also see on the negative side, because of the diet, the lifestyle in Indonesia, people are getting sick. So unfortunately, that's also going to cause a demand to the healthcare in Indonesia. But on the positive side, also see people are getting more aware in terms of being healthy. When I came back from America, if you want to go to the gym, you have to go to the hotels, to your membership there. But now every single mall has a gym, right? You have Make Doctor, you have the Doctor, all these websites opening up as well. So that's good. People are more aware. As definitely mentioned, right? Doctor-centric to patient-centric. So I agree with it completely. And I think the whole healthcare and e-healthcare is supposed to be good in Indonesia.
You know the feeling, guys? It's really awesome that the biggest players say, I agree with you. So big round of applause for Chris. Thank you. And I truly hope that you don't think me as a competitor. Just joking. Ali, your turn.
Okay, I will jump to the question number 2. Do I think there's an opportunity for specific healthcare commerce here? Absolutely. Also, I agree with Grace, and I'm sure that's why you're in this industry, right? So I believe every week I'm signing the reimbursement of my staff's medical bills. And it's quite stunning how much they need to pay compared to how much they get, their salary is. It's very expensive, and also it takes one full day for them to simply check into the clinic. I'm sure they're maybe waiting the line that your picture shows, right? So I believe the first benefit for this healthcare commerce is about the cost, and also about what they really need. They need a cheaper way to meet the doctors, and also faster way to meet the doctors. Another thing I also see here is, what about the people outside of the cities? Once they have the better internet connections, I'm sure they can easily reach out to the doctors and the help they need. I think that's the main purpose of the internet in any commerce. It's more about again, the Donald mentioned, about the information sharing. So I hope people outside of Jakarta, Surabaya, big cities, can also reach out to the doctors and get the help they need, and also cheap. Yes. So I believe definitely there's a big advantage being in the healthcare commerce because people need it, or really need it.
And I want to ask you, because Sukamart, one of the holding companies doing Sokai, right, in Japan. I think that's really one of the biggest, especially in healthcare. So can you share some best practices?
Right, actually in Japan, that's also same as any other e-commerce, like how Lazada grew, how Zalora grew. It's just finding what people need. And they happen to need all of those regular medical items, regular groceries. And Sokai Drug happened to be one of the best service and also earliest available online e-commerce. That's how they're successful. So I think it's about the timing, how to reach the people, and also how early you can provide this information to the people. That's important.
All right, applause.
Actually, I have one more question. Do you think about making a reservation portal? Or is it going to be consultant-based? Or is it, because when I see the line from your picture, how about reservations to those doctors? Or is it?
I have my own versions of answers, but I would like to hear your answer as well, please. Because I think when we are talking about appointment services, we did not discuss about that internally with doctor company, but I think doctors in Indonesia are a little bit unique, right? I was not like that. Only me. But doctors are just having their practice hours, and then they can cruelly ask patients to wait for another 45 minutes. And I was a patient, I'm a doctor, hey, I'm your colleague. You told me to wait for another 45 minutes? Come on, I'm your colleague. But anyway, that's the problem, because I think the doctors, if you ask me why the doctor is not jumping into that business yet, because I think the blame is on the doctors. But if you ask me, do I want to build one? Let's see. So Grace, what do you think?
Actually, in Until Doctor, we do have that. But as you said, agree completely. The doctors here, their mindset, it's kind of unique. You know.
Unique is really a polite word.
And they're crazy. They're driving me crazy. I mean, I'm in the management, so I deal with doctors every single day, and yeah, they're very taxing and trying. Yeah, the doctors, they might not want to have that, reserved slot. They prefer the patients to come first. So I've had experience. I have to come there first. The doctor asks the nurse, how many patients are there? Only one? Okay, I will not come yet. 5? Okay, I will come now. So that's how the doctors are.
Thank you.
Maybe later then, yeah? Okay, so the hottest section of the questions to Donald.
Well, I think you have the answer. So Kai to be number one is because they're early and because there's a market to be served. Just that happens to be that the good news that we believe, the way we believe, the way Convergence believe and invest is that we believe we have the privilege of living in a time machine, as Wilson Chuacha mentioned before. We just, all we have to do is we use the benefit of foresight by seeing what goes successful in the US, and see how it goes successful in Japan, and how it gets successful in China, and then we just find which one of you guys want to do the same thing over here, right? So sometimes I know this is not the sexiest thing to say because in a super highly energetic entrepreneurial startup people, so the first thing you ask is, so you're the Indonesian version of what? Okay, I mean really there's a whole lot of work to do to build something in Indonesia. We know that, right? But it's easier if we know the route, and it does not by in any way, shape or form diminish what needs to be done. Yeah, we know that WebMD is big in the US. We know that there is ZocDoc with reservations. Yeah, but the thing is, taking it to Indonesia and arriving in time for when the Indonesians are just ready to adopt it is the big question, right? For example, I'm actually e-commerce player 15 years ago. Yeah, but you know what I mean? E-commerce player 15 years ago, it's dead. Yeah. Otherwise, I would have been built an e-commerce marketplace 10 years before Tokopedia. Yeah, and we did. It dies. So
It was
it died. So too early, way too early. So, but you ask why? What's our view about a bleeding company? Well, the thing is, right now, when the moment is right, yeah, and we always wait until the moment is just right. Yeah, you want to be as fast as possible to be number one, and that's what. It's not bleeding. If you look at now, if you analyze the number correctly, it's not bleeding. It's just there is the profitability of the transactions which is required. Yeah, and then there is the marketing effort, which is always expensive when you're trying to penetrate a new market. But the benefit of being there, number one, yeah, top of mind, of the right customer base, is worth it in the long run. If the customer base is right, and if the customer base is right, they're actually really trying to buy a product. They're really about to buy a product. If you do it 2 years early, then there's nothing left when they're about to buy the product, and you're not going to be number one by burning 2 years early. Yeah, that's why. That's why we're doing this, and why we're doing it in Indonesia is because, as you said, in 2018 it will be $60 billion. Yeah. Everybody's rushing to Indonesia. You can see in all the VCs over here. Everybody's over here. It's a crowded VC market in Indonesia. We just meet with everybody because it is the right moment for this right now. The straw already break the camel's back, and the camel's shooting through the roof. That's a very bad one. That's
Applause for Donald.
Ada yang mau nanya ke Mas Adiatma? Sudah pada tahu? Oh, ada beberapa pertanyaan. Okay, we have venture capital from India here. Aashka, maybe you can describe us.
So I'm from Aashka. I'm sure no one has met me here before. So we recently raised a fund in which we do venture capital investment in Indonesia. Hello. Yeah. So we are not a technology VC per se, but we invest in need-based sectors. So healthcare is a sector of interest for us. We've made over 50 investments in India already, and we've been in this space for the past 14 years. In healthcare, what we have done in the past have been funding some franchisee, low-cost, affordable hospitals, mobile health delivery. Those are the kind of models that we have invested in the past. Remote diagnostics is something which we have been evaluating quite closely, but all these opportunities have been in India. So what I meant to ask you was that maybe I couldn't get a sense exactly how does the product work. I understood the kind of problem that you're trying to solve, but if I am a customer, what is it that I will get? What is the workflow on your website? I mean, the product exactly didn't become very clear to me, so I thought I just ask you the question.
Okay, good question. Thanks. Actually, our basic services are online consultations. So it's an everyday service. We open our schedule from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and you can ask through our website any questions about your health, and we kind of guarantee you will have an answer from our panel of doctors in 1 hour time frame. So that's our biggest services so far. But as I mentioned earlier in my slides, that we are just getting started. So we just want to have a really good, great traction of users and traffic. Because as the hint from me is, we are not portal. If we are portal, we are just keep growing our user space as big as possible. But my keyword is we are being a platform. So what we are doing next is oh yeah, I'm sorry. This is the work of my marketing team. But if you wanna join the selfie contest, feel free. Oh, I'm so sorry about that one. Yes, you see, that's gained a lot of traffic. So yeah, yeah, this is the main features of our websites. You can ask any questions, and then some recent articles and some advertisement from our beautiful advertisers to make us happy and can eat something every day. Yeah, but actually that's the service. So online consultation first, but next time we will just expand our services to some other things that
Thank you.
hopefully you understand it.
Next question. Tadi yang di depan dulu ya.
Pakai bahasa Indonesia aja nggak apa-apa ya. Mas, mau tanya, kalau itu hanya dokter aja atau ada ahli lain kayak psikolog, psikiater gitu? Betul. Tanyanya, thank you.
Jawabannya Inggris boleh ya. So, because we have Emmy and we have Alice. Actually, for now, we just limit that for doctors only. Whether you are a GP or specialist, but no medical students, no psychologists, no herbalists, no those alternative therapists, whatever. No, just doctor. We still have small amounts of doctors yet, so yeah, it's for doctors. You want to join? You're not a doctor? Okay, cannot. Last questions?
Hello, good evening. My name is Peter. My question is simply, because we're also going to do a startup related to healthcare, how did you get the doctors to work with you? And I do have a second question, and I'll follow up.
How do I get doctors to work on me? I come to their office, no, not me, my team, and ask them to join us. We do not pay them. In return, we ask them for some publications. So if there is one doctor answering the questions, you can click on the profile of the doctors, and then boom, where is his or her practice is. In my other hospital, probably we have not worked with my other hospital yet. So something like that. Yeah. So it's a kind of promotion for the doctors. And next question is?
Sure. For the next question is, I can see that you probably get some ad revenue from the website also. If you can change your revenue streams to anything else, what would you pivot to?
Subscription based data. Next.
Ada yang mau nanya lagi nggak? Oke. Ternyata di belakang suaranya nggak gitu jelas loh. Agak
Oh, I'm
mengganggu.
so
Jadi
sorry.
mungkin harus
Maybe next time you should
harus
just
deketin.
come forward. So if you don't mind, make this last questions because I think Jonathan cannot wait to share his things.
I
Right?
was wondering if there's any regulation on answering questions online or something like that.
to be honest with you, and maybe Grace can add up later, I did my research and there is no regulation yet about that. But even if the Ministry of Health come to me and stand their role against us, I will clearly say to them, "Ma'am, which one do you prefer? People coming to the apothec without any prescription from the doctors, or we do this, we do it correctly, or you want to just people go to the Google and ask for the diabetes treatment, and what you got is those F *** herbal drugs." So I think there's where I put my stand as a doctor and right now as a businessman. What we are doing here, we are not trying to deceive people. We are trying to help them by giving them the right education, right information, right treatment. So I don't know about them, but I think later on, hopefully, government will say thanks to Billy Doctor and me Doctor. Amen.
You know, if I add a little bit, I
Are you
understand.
coming from Ministry of Health?
I understand what you're doing is good, and it's because of your passion. I was just wondering, what if someone else is not with your vision and mission, somebody that is probably like this herbalist or something? How do you think the government or the regulation body should help move this forward in the right direction?
I've done enough. I think that question is really best being answered by Krista.
Hello. So my question to you, I guess I'll just ask you. For example, if you go to a doctor right now, you're just like going to a physical doctor, can you guarantee that doctor can give you always the correct answer?
Right.
You can't.
Yes.
Or if you call a doctor and the doctor gives you, false information because, doctors have associations with pharmaceutical companies as well, right?
Right.
They get paid by pharmaceutical companies to hawk some products. Can you guarantee? No. So I will stand with you, by the way, if the MOH come to us, we'll put together, okay? Against them.
Sure.
I think this is good, you know what I mean? I mean, you cannot guarantee information in the, on the internet. But Mid Doctor, for example, just now he did the statistics, billions of page views and stuff like that. It's because of the credibility. Okay, and on my own website, the doctors have to be having SDR, which is the certification to become a doctor.
Yeah, I'm not a pharmacist, and we don't have a single carrying cost. So how does we start it actually? I start from the problem. When like what Ali said, we should find the pain point and try to solve the problem. So we came up from the problem actually. We see that there are many problems when we got sick. The first problem, as we live in Jakarta, as many of you been through last few hours or a few minutes ago, was traffic. Especially in Jakarta, now in Bandung, and Surabaya. That's one of the biggest pain that we have. The second big, and Jakarta apparently according to Castrol Index is number 1 in terms of traffic, other than Istanbul and Mexico. The second part, like what Dr. Adiatma said about going to doctors, the other problem is waiting in the pharmacy. I think it's a common problem for everyone. When we have the prescription from doctors, we still have to wait for the medicine. And one of the biggest problems also in Indonesia, because Indonesia has 241 pharmaceutical companies. We have 8,000 brands out of 3,000 molecules available in Indonesia, out of total pharma market of 54 billion rupiah, 54 trillion, right? The biggest problem is when you go to pharmacy, a lot of the medicine is not there, right? You have to wait 3-4 hours until the medicine is being sent, because you don't get it unless we're talking about Panadol or maybe Amoxan. But if you got a very specific blend that is prescribed from a local pharmaceutical company, who are quite popular, even from companies like Dexa or Calbe, you still have this pain. So we see this is all the problems that we address. Not have to, and a lot of people also talk about branded product and also generic. But having said that, we also see opportunity. One of the biggest opportunity that we see is that there's online technology that is growing. I think Dr. Adi Atman mentioned a very interesting stats of how Indonesia is growing in terms of usage of internet. But another big opportunity that we see is the growth of pharmacy in Indonesia in the last few years, 2011, 2012, 2013. I think the number is close to, I don't know. I think 21,000 pharmacy or apothek, but I think the one that is still very active, probably 12, 13,000. But still, there's a lot of pharmacy around, and yet it's difficult for us to get, we still have to wait. So a lot of problems, yet a lot of supplies actually. So that's why we come up with a...
Ketika Anda sakit, pergi ke dokter, terkena macet, pergi ke apotek dan obat habis. Apotek.com 5019 solusi Anda, situs penjualan obat via online dan telepon. Cukup menelepon dimanapun Anda berada, lalu obat akan segera kami antarkan. Anda dapat menghubungi kami via telepon, BBM, atau aplikasi kami. Apotek.com 5019.
Yeah, so we come up with this idea, apotek.com, with 5019, 5019 the phone number, because we realize that Indonesians are, yes, they are into electronic information, yet they are still growing in terms of electronic commerce. So we really got a lot of, we're quite happy with our traffic, but we're not really happy yet at that time with the conversion of the percentage. Then we tried this very simple, putting a phone number. It works quite well. I mean, yes, Indonesian love still to call, to ask and this. And so, yeah, we provide a very simple solution because basically, for prescription medicine, we still want to see the real prescription. And before you ask about the regulation, that's going to be how I'm answering the regulation, because we come up with capture the prescription, send it to us. When we deliver, we will exchange with the real prescriptions. We don't deliver. The one that delivers is the pharmacy. So actually, I try to bring something for the society as well. I work with over 400 pharmacies around Indonesia. We're hoping to reach 600 by the end of this year. So we are basically just a place where we meet between customers and apothek and pharmacy. So we bring business for the pharmacy. We live on a commission base. So that's very simple of us. We have a very simple tagline: cepat, aman, nyaman, or fast, safe, and comfortable. Yeah, that's it. So I have a few questions for the panelists. Okay, so for Grace, how do you see the electronic platform going to change the ecosystem of healthcare in Indonesia, and how long do you think it will be?
I think, of course, it's good. That's why I'm in it, right? I'm not doing this business. In terms of how long, actually, this kind of, just like Dr. Adiatman said, is quite good, yeah, because we have this kind of meetup. So the more players there are, the more consumers are more aware of what's going on in terms of the e-health as well. I don't know how it's going to take, but, you know, I want to be here when the explosion happens.
Okay, that's good. Okay, I'll go with Donald first. Donald, how do you see the potential of valuation in the healthcare startup in Indonesia? Because you think the Silicon Valley dream is something that is achievable in this country. What I mean is that Amazon today is operating loss, but their IPO and their valuation is amazing, right? You think in a country like us, which if you want to go IPO, you need to have a X amount of profitable level, and you think it's going to happen ever in the healthcare startup or any startup in the IPO level?
IPO level, definitely.
With negative operation costs.
With negative.
The Amazon model.
You mean the stupid, crazy, moron Americans? Yeah, no. In Indonesia, in Asia, no, not just Indonesia. In Asia, we don't believe in doing things. We don't yet believe. Maybe I should have to say that yet, because that factor comes with the number of how many crazy money out there. We don't yet believe that if you don't in Asia, if you want investment, number one, we ask you to do is come up with a business model. How you plan to make money out of this. If your answer is I don't know, I'll build it, they'll come. Yeah, then there's the door there. Yeah, that's standard in Asia. And in fact, that's sometimes we actually wait until you prove that you have a working revenue model, even though overall your cost of operation is still negative, but at least you've proven that somebody's willing to pay you for this, then we invest. That is the usual scenario in Indonesia. I think the madness is catching. Yeah, with madness there will be somebody who is crazy enough to pull the trigger when there's nothing there. But yeah, we believe, at least in Convergence, we believe we are not the fools. So we try to, as much as possible, to stay away from just plain madness. We have to have some reason behind it. But $60 billion is a good enough reason. Yeah.
Ellie, my question would be, you're an expert in e-commerce. B2B, B2C. Ours are e-commerce. What would be your opinion or your advice for our startups and Apothekan?
Here I have a question for you. You will have more competitors. Right now, maybe you might be the only one selling the medicines, but Sukamar actually also already started to sell the medicines.
There you go. It's proven that it's a good business model.
Exactly. So what is going to be your only value proposition for your website? Why would people have to buy from you? Not from Sukamar, not from Lazada. Maybe one day they will expand to healthcare.
I think a few things that we are very focusing on cepat, aman, nyaman, or fast, safe, comfortable. Why fast? Because we work with our pharmacies. So meaning the closer you are with the apothek, the faster it is, right? So we deliver between half an hour to an hour, maximum 2 hours, depends on the situation.
Within the same day.
Yeah, you order now, in half an hour you get it. Yeah, that's one of our key strengths compared to other delivery models. Yeah? Second of all is that, of course, it's safe. Yeah? And third of all, we have our own economic model that we know that our price will be very competitive compared to even a normal pharmacy.
That's the biggest differentiator compared to Sukamar or other e-commerce. If you can promise to deliver within 1 hour frame,
that's for sure.
Then that's the
because they deliver from the apotheke. It's the apotheke was the delivery.
Because our key strength is our network. We have a few hundred. So, any advice or anything?
I think that's already a very big point for you to serve your customers. I think next time I need the medicines, I will buy from your website.
That would be nice.
I have a question.
Apothek Antar has a backup sama perusahaan istilahnya apa ya, supplier farmasi gitu ya, mungkin produsen farmasi mungkin ya. Nggak tahu namanya, Mensa saya kalau nggak salah ya. Nah, what do you think your chance if you don't have that kind of backup? I mean, jika berdiri sendiri, ini kira-kira bisa running nggak nih apotek antar? Misalnya startup yang punya ide dokter atau mahasiswa farmasi pengen bikin ini, nah itu kira-kira ada chance apa enggak?
Interesting question. Difficult to answer because I think everybody can set up their online store. I mean, that's why we are here. Online pharmacy, there are many online pharmacy. As I mentioned, I don't have a single pharmacy. What we have is the network. So we work with our network. That's why that is, so if your question is, can anyone build like us? If you have a pharmacy, of course, many apotek. If you go to Google, you can click, you can see a lot of products. A lot of pharmacy online, whether it's in Bintaro, in Semarang, or anything, right? Ours, we don't have a single store. That is a differentiator. We don't have a single store. But when you search for any products, I don't know whether it's still relevant, but I think the last few days, we're still number 1 or number 2 in terms of search engine optimizer level. Yeah? What do you call it?
SEO.
Yeah, SEO.
Beli obat apotek, beli obat online gitu, keywordnya misalnya.
No, not even if you put that one, definitely. But if you put, let's say, Clopidogrel or Norfast or Amlodipine, something like that, you just put it in. Yeah, with a lot of the popular products, we are still on the first page, number 3, number 2, or even number 1. So I think a lot of people are really looking at this.
Jadi kalau nggak ada backup farmasi besar masih memungkinkan gitu ya, masih bisa sebetulnya gitu ya.
The possibility is there. I mean, there are many online pharmacy. It's just maybe a different business model.
Pertanyaan kedua saya, gimana cara ngebangun network segitu banyak di apotek di segitu banyak daerah ya?
Okay. This one, when you ask how to build a network, of course you like what Dr. Adi. You send somebody, you knock on the door, and you ask the apotek. But the biggest thing adalah we must give the apotek something, right? So if we don't bring the business for the apotek will not want. I mean, I have many experience where the apotek does not want. Okay, so after 2 days, I gave them a business, 10 million rupiah on one shot. They said, okay, I become a partner. I mean, if you bring business, then everybody wants to do business. I think it's as simple as that.
Dari teman-teman di sini, oke.
Have you discussed with Meet Doctor or Bill Doctor about after the consultation, directly goes to your site to get the medicine?
We're very good partners.
I
Anyway.
see. Okay, so that's already in the conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. I see. I think that would be a very good service.
I have a question. Just now you said that your price can be cheaper than the offline stores, right? But just now you said that when you go to the apotek, and do you subsidize the price to make it lower than the actual offline? So they're the one willingly giving it cheaper if through apotek antar, or what's the?
Sometimes yes. Not every apotek. Not every product. Because we're talking about 5,000 brands, right? So when I say cheaper, it's not necessarily all products. We're talking about mix or product mix.
Thank you, my name is Linda. And first of all, when you start your business, when you start business,
1.5 years, yeah.
1.5 years. I have a pharmacy in 5 years and you never contact me.
Okay.
No, it's not true. It's my concern about prescription that you go, that you get it from picture. Well, I'm an offline pharmacy, and
And we have a regulation that in narcotics and psychotropics and
We don't do psychotropics.
okay.
We don't do
So
psychotropics.
you don't do that.
So yeah, that's one thing that we don't do. Any psychotropic we don't.
How about precursor?
Precursor psychotropic we don't do.
Thank you.
We avoid the regulation
Yes.
questions and problems.
Bisa dipanggil?
Adi silakan. Adi is my person in charge for the
Mungkin
software.
pertanyaannya, tahu dari mana itu resep asli? Kalau ini cuma foto doang.
Kita kan exchange nanti. Waktu kita tukar, waktu kita antar kita bawa resep lagi.
I think sometimes if we find fake prescription, maybe you have to start with like you have a connection with doctor is more secure because you know the STR from the doctor where they get the prescription is better. Maybe it's
Can they do online prescription?
yes, they should because we pharmacies now trying to deliver about prescription. In big hospital, they were doing it.
Well, if all the platforms can do online prescription, we'll be more than happy to receive online prescription. Let's talk to the Ministry of Health.
So I think we give you time if you are willing to share about how is health startups in India, maybe for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, please. Health specific healthcare.
Yeah. So, I personally don't have a lot of experience in healthcare investing. That's the initial disclaimer. But the kind of startups which are coming up are so one is clearly the affordable healthcare. So people have tried different models, but the realization has been that somewhere in patient's mind that doctor's touch is really important. I mean, so maybe for a lot of people the solution is not remote diagnostics. It's just a mental thing. It's just a psychological thing. You can't really bypass it. Maybe the market is not there yet. So for those kind of things, people are trying to work out on innovative models where in some tier 2, tier 3 town, you go find a reasonable doctor there who has some kind of a facility, try to ramp up his facility so that he can hire 4 or 5 different verticals of doctors and create an affordable service which can be provided to the tier 3 town where people usually had to go to main cities for these kind of treatments. So that is one. We have invested in a chain called Vatsalya. We were the first investors. We invested in this chain in 2006, and this chain actually replicated a franchising model and went on to create 18 such hospitals in South India. And it was operating on a partnership model where effectively the hospital's entrepreneur was acting as the CEO of that hospital. And there was a revenue share which was happening between Vatsalya and the doctor. So there was a skin in the game. So that was the fundamental element, because in these kind of models you have to give some level of independence to the main doctor. Because of the doctor, the patients will come. It's not because of the machines the patients come. So machine is required, but doctor is imminent. So that was the fundamental, fundamental thing about that model. That company has grown up to over a $15 million company now. Still, a lot of things in terms of learnings. It hasn't been a smooth ride. So that's one part of thing, where you are actually opening clinics, but these clinics are better than what is available out there. So that's one model. The other model we tried was this is a specific Aashka example. In North India and South India are completely different. So the poverty level in North India is extremely high, and South India is much better off. I mean, that's been the traditional scenario. So the idea was to actually create a mobile healthcare delivery service in which some of the standard diseases can be mitigated through online consultation by an MBBS doctor. You don't need a specialist for those kind of consultations. But clearly we were ahead of the market, and the market wasn't ready for the solution. We tried a lot. We tried to flex it, create insurance solution with it. But selling prepaid voucher for such a push market product is really difficult. So I don't know any company in Aashka portfolio which has done as much innovation as this company has done. But that unfortunately hasn't translated into a lot of sales. So that model didn't work for sure. Remote diagnostics, what's been happening is that one is actually, before coming to this mall, there is, in Chiputra one, there is something related to India going on. There is some exhibition. So I just saw that ISRO, which is Indian Space Research Organization, they are trying to create a satellite network of 100 locations where they are doing remote diagnostics, and all the information is centrally aggregated in a database, and you have a set of panelists which can post recommendations, and these are for serious diseases. So that is another end of the spectrum. But from a startup perspective, remote diagnostics, nowadays what's happening in India is because microfinance has grown to a significant level and there are so many NGOs operating in the rural areas, people are coming up with all sorts of models how to leverage that infrastructure. So what they are doing is they will associate themselves with a microfinance company which will have a small office. They will provide some basic infrastructure in which you have a webcam, you have a small laptop, and there will be a health officer. So the health officer's duty will be pre-decided. So health officer is, say, sitting in a branch on every Monday. So the health officer comes there, whosoever are the patients in the vicinity, they basically come to the branch, and the health officer helps in standard diagnosis of the problem. There is a set form which gets uploaded to a centrally located hospital. The MD in the hospital actually gets that information, peruses it, and sends online consultation. So that's where I want to intervene, that in India, some level of online consultation has already started. Digital signature is widely used in the online consultations. And through this online consultation, the next steps to the patients are recommended. Sometimes it's very easy, sometimes it's just a medicine recommendation. So the medicines are prescribed, arranged for through the branch. The branch has a pharmacy tie-up as well. And that case is closed. But if it's a serious complication, then they need to be referred to a doctor in a city and adequate consultation is given. So these models are coming up, but the scale up, the scale up requires at least one or two guys to really delve deep into it. Somebody with reasonably big deep pockets, like you said. Capital is, unfortunately, healthcare and capital, they go together. And so there are some large organizations which are working towards this, trying to make this work. So hopefully when one or two models get successful, it will be a more streamlined business model. There will be many more people who will start jumping in. And I mean, in Asia we have a tendency to keep looking for that first guy who gets successful. And then there is a barrage of entrepreneurs who jump in and with a different name, they start in their own locality. So these are some of the, and of course there is a large segment which is trying to do a WebMD kind of thing, which is trying to give you a sort of a logical reasoning approach towards self-diagnosis. But those are more of knowledge portals, their revenue channel is majorly advertisement revenue. So generally, yeah, the VCs are try to, at least in an Indian setting, I've seen VCs try to run away from only advertisement linked. Kind of, yeah. So some exceptions are there. Clearly, OLX kind of. There are some copycats of OLX which exist in India, but there the transaction volumes are really serious these days. So, so basically, in a nutshell, I mean, these things are working, but a difficult sector from a VC perspective. Oh yeah, wearable. Wearable suddenly has picked up. I don't know, over the past 1 year there has been a big expansion of these wearables, and now many of my friends actually, I see them wearing tracking